And welcome to the One More Thing podcast, where we discuss the past weekend's message and go over questions and details of the past weekend. And today I'm joined with Pastor Larry.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for being here. So we are in More series, and this was week 2. And kind of the number one word that I pulled from this message was encouragement.
Right.
And I love this message because it was something that really resonated with me. I try to be someone who is an encouraging person. And I know that's something that you strive for as well. And I think one of the interesting points about this idea of encouragement, you've heard the term, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Right.
When you are an encouraging person, you attract other encouraging people because they want to be encouraged just as much as they want to encourage. And it's the same thing on the opposite end. Like if you're a constant negative person, first of all, you're going to push a lot of people away,
Right.
but you're also going to just attract other negative people as well. What are your thoughts on that kind of idea?
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, there's the old expression, birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
There's another technical term. It's called the homogeneous unit principle.
Ooh.
Really, it says that people who are like-minded usually come together. And I think that supports what you're saying.
And I think it's one of those keys to happiness. When you're constantly encouraging people, it's not just when you receive encouragement, that's great. But when you're an encourager to other people, I think it adds, this value and this energy to life that I think is really, really important. And you told the story of the picnic with the bologna sandwich. I love the illustration. And it actually reminded me of a personal story. I was a teenager when Hurricane Charlie happened.
Right.
And one of the stories that sticks out to me is after the storm had hit and we were all without power and food and all these different things, my neighborhood came together like it's never come together. And so when we were there, we were helping clean up debris in each other's yards, but we were also like, what do you need? I have propane. So if you need propane, I have extra. And if you need food, and some people would give food if they had extra, and gas when they needed some. And it was something that we formed this amazing bond of when we in this tragedy, and it's the most Spirit of Christ moment, one of the more Spirit of Christ moments that I've experienced in my life, of this idea of sharing and encouragement. And it stuck out to me like a sore thumb when you told that story.
Yeah. Well, where there's a crisis, community comes together.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's unfortunate, but we wait for there to be a crisis.
Yeah.
And it's nice when community can do things without the crisis. Although the line that I got the most chuckles over was, can you imagine someone coming home from work for the day and saying, I'm just exhausted. I just had so much encouragement today. Yeah. I mean, it's absurd because I don't know anyone who would be tired of encouragement. It's part of that which fills us up. And when we can help others by encouraging them, I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I think the point you were making, outside of just sharing our resources, but it's this sharing of love and grace in our community, and that's what I believe Paul was referring to as well in this passage from Colossians. Is you need to be the Spirit of Christ. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those main things of the Spirit of Christ, is love and encouragement and grace. And I think that's a really powerful message, and I think it's something that we really, really need to hear today. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and it seems like political animosity has never been at a higher echelon than it is right now. And I think the words of encouragement and love just really need to be pounded into people's head right now.
So if there's one more thing we could tell people, it'd be this: encourage someone today.
Exactly.
Not only do I like to be encouraged, but I think also I have this challenge that I need to be an encourager.
Right.
So, they used to have the old expression, if you want a friend, be a friend. Well, if you want to be encouraged, be an encourager.
Yeah.
And sometimes that encouragement has a way of finding its way back to you. But I don't encourage so that someone will encourage me. I encourage because I know it's needed.
Right.
We all enjoy someone saying, oh, that's a great job, or you're wonderful, thanks for helping me out. And it makes me and makes us, I think, collectively, we want to do more for those people who are appreciative and those who encourage us by their comments.
Right. No, I agree, 100%. And then the story of you and Becky getting stuck
in the mud,
that one really resonated with me because I too have this thing of when somebody tells me, you can't do something,
Right.
it lights a fire under my butt.
Yeah.
Like it really does. And it reminded me of the story. The first time I sang on stage as a worship leader, and I started the song in the wrong key, like vocally. So I was playing in one key. I could not sing. Like I really couldn't sing. And I remember a very well-intentioned pastor that was very important to me said, this is not for you. You can't do this. You can't do this. And I just remember in that moment was like, nope, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like I'm going to do this now, like even more so. So I think there is a time when somebody tells you can't do something and your own stubbornness and ego will push you to.
Yeah. I agree that. I have a story I haven't thought about for a long time, but when my second year of college, I owed the university a decent amount of money, and Becky and I got married after the first term, so midway through the second term. So I was a sophomore. We moved back to Florida from Nashville. And before I went, my major advisor, his name was Neil Wiseman. He's passed away now. He's a good guy. I really like him. But he said, I'm telling you, don't do it. I'm telling you, do not go home. Do not get married. You need to stay here in school. You'll never come back. I've seen it happen many times. You'll never come back. And something inside of me was like, oh, yes, I will.
Yeah.
And we got married and we paid off all the debt. And I came back that fall. But the first office I went to was his. Just basically to say, I'm back.
Yeah.
And he
exactly.
said, oh, yeah. I was wrong.
Right.
He said, congratulations for proving me wrong. Thank you for proving me wrong. You're back. And later on, he became a guy that was one of my mentors. But I really appreciate him. But I don't like being told, everybody does this and you will too.
Yeah. No,
I like to think that we are the exception. And those of us who don't like to be told no, I don't mind being told you can't do this unless you do that, but I don't like being told no.
Right.
Because tell me the yes with these provisions.
Yeah, that's our own stubbornness, right?
It is, but I think I think that the dream of becoming more should not be determined by someone else.
Yeah.
It should be determined by me.
And that's really profound. And the thing is, when you are living your life, not everyone responds to that you can't do this in the same way. Because you could tell somebody that. You could be discouraging to somebody, and it leaves them down in the mud. It leaves them not where they are living to their full potential. So there is this balance of, when you are discouraging somebody from doing something that you really truly believe, like your heart has to be in the right place, right? So like if I'm discouraging somebody from doing something that I truly believe is not in their benefit, that's different than, you just don't want to encourage anybody to do everything, right?
Right.
So, but your heart has to be in the right place. But it's always better to encourage people to live their best life. And I think that's the summation of what you were talking about.
Yeah, and I think there's always criticism that can happen. There's judgment that we could do.
Right.
And say, look, I know you can't do this. You can't sing. Well, just because you heard me one time doesn't mean that's who I am.
Exactly.
Because, and I love the expression, failure is not final. Just because I don't succeed although Susan would say, except in skydiving.
Right.
So, but usually we learn from our mistakes and we correct them.
Right.
And I think I still remember the words of my mother when I was just a little kid. I mean, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And she would say, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. I remember as a little boy crawling into her bed and she'd say, oh, your feet are cold. And 5 years old, and I'm snuggling to my mother, and she'd say, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. That affirmation is one of the things I think that changed my life.
Absolutely.
And you can do anything you want as long as you put your mind to it.
Right.
Now, I feel sorry for those people who crawled into the bed with their mother and said, your feet are cold, get out of my bed, you're worthless and you're stupid.
Right.
You'll never amount to anything. Because just as positive words can have a long-term effect, so can negative expressions.
Absolutely.
So as parents, we need to be careful that we feed the right wolf. We take care. We say the things that are appropriate for our kids and our grandkids, et cetera.
Yeah, no, and it's terrifying as a parent, because I'm like, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to say that's like going to give my daughters long-term trauma? So I'm like,
see, that's where grandparents come in.
Well,
your parents, they didn't mean it. So we come in as a recovery unit.
We actually talked about that this weekend when we were away. I'm like, us as fathers every once in a while have those moments of, man, I messed up, where our wives look at us and are like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Why would you do that to our kid?
I would just challenge it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Frequently. Frequently, that's what's it. But I was thinking about your daughter who was at this table, and she wanted to sit in her mom's lap, and her mom said, no. And not right now. I'm busy eating. So she went back around to the table to sit in her own seat. But I tried to get her to sit by Aunt Stacy and sit here, and she wasn't. She'd been rejected. Mm-hmm. And did when her muffin fell off her plate and hit the floor, it was a meltdown experience. That's where the grandparents come in. And, but even then, I saw you step up as dad, and you went and held her, and you encouraged her, and you loved on her. And that's what we do. I mean, we don't always have it right, but we know where the recovery is. We come back and we try to make things better.
Yeah, agreed. And speaking of my kids, I love the story of Leighton. I had not heard that in a while, just with you at Sam's. And I wish she would learn some of that patience now, because she does not necessarily have that kind of patience now.
Well, she'll learn it.
She'll learn it for sure. But do you have anything else that you didn't get to this weekend?
No, I think the important thing is that, to summarize, just be an encourager.
Yeah.
I mean, encourage people. People around you are hurting. They're insecure about themselves. Maybe they're insecure in the political environment that we're in, or the pandemic environment that I think we're coming out of. But still, there's another strain, and people are frightened. But be encouraged. I look for the good in things. Yeah. I look for tomorrow to be bright and sunny. The sun's going to come out, and I think positive attitude will help the day.
I couldn't agree more. And so we have more week 3 coming up. We have some really exciting things happening this weekend. So I encourage everybody to be there, and we're looking forward to it.
See you then.
See ya.